When a razor-sharp talk show host set out to undermine a powerhouse entrepreneur on live television, no one could have predicted that the ensuing exchange would leave the entire audience utterly speechless. On that fateful morning, as millions tuned in across the country, Simone Jackson, an entrepreneur whose achievements defied conventional expectations, captured every eye and ear with a response that resonated far beyond the confines of the studio. At only 32 years old, Simone Jackson was far from ordinary. In a remarkably short span of time, she had built a thriving business empire from the ground up, a true testament to grit, vision, and an unyielding commitment to making a difference. Her success, however, was not merely a personal triumph. Rather, it was a beacon of hope and opportunity that had uplifted countless lives in her community. Born and raised in Birmingham, Alabama, Simone was imbued with a deep belief that real success was measured not by individual gain, but by the doors it could open for others. Her ethos was simple yet profound. If you achieve greatness, then you must use that greatness to help others rise alongside you. Simone's latest venture exemplified this philosophy. It was a groundbreaking initiative aimed at providing young Black women with access to entrepreneurial mentorship, capital, and essential resources. The project was designed to dismantle the barriers that had long prevented talented individuals from realizing their full potential. So when Simone received an invitation to appear on The Morning Perspective, one of the most watched talk shows in the nation, she was overjoyed. It was an opportunity not only to share her personal story, but also to spotlight the transformative work her initiative was doing. For Simone, the invitation symbolized a chance to showcase what can be accomplished when determination, talent, and community support converge. The host of the show, Charlotte Whittaker, was a polarizing figure in her own right, a woman known for her acerbic wit and her unrelenting ability to provoke controversy. Charlotte, whose reputation was built on a razor-sharp tongue and a penchant for stirring debate, was both revered and reviled. Many in the media lauded her as a fearless interviewer, while others criticized her for being unnecessarily combative. Yet Simone was unfazed by the prospect of facing such a formidable opponent. Having weathered far greater challenges throughout her career, Simone knew that this moment was hers for the taking. She was determined to seize the opportunity and use it as a platform to shine a light on the issues that mattered most. On the day of the interview, Simone arrived at the bustling Los Angeles studio with an energy that was as vibrant as the teal suit she wore, a suit that seemed to capture her very essence. The fabric shimmered with life, mirroring the unbridled energy and optimism that defined her approach to business and community empowerment. As she stepped onto the set, the makeup artist offered a quick word of praise, remarking on how radiant Simone looked that day. Though Simone felt a familiar tingle of nervous anticipation beneath her calm exterior, she smiled warmly and took a deep, steadying breath. The studio itself was alive with the hum of production staff, the chatter of the audience, and the soft clatter of cameras being set up, all of which added to the electric atmosphere that promised to make this an unforgettable broadcast. Seated in her customary spot, Charlotte Whittaker wasted no time in launching into her introduction. With a wide, toothy grin that betrayed none of the hidden calculations behind it, Charlotte announced, "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Simone Jackson, a self-made businesswoman who is rewriting the rules of entrepreneurship." The live audience responded with a thunderous round of applause, their enthusiasm filling the studio with palpable energy. Simone, ever gracious, leaned into the introduction with her trademark poise. "Thank you, Charlotte," she said warmly, her voice steady and inviting. "I'm thrilled to be here today and to share a little bit about the work we're doing." For the first few minutes, the conversation flowed effortlessly. Simone recounted her remarkable journey, from her humble beginnings as a teenager selling custom jewelry at local flea markets to the triumphant establishment of a multi-million-dollar company. Her narrative was both inspiring and vivid, capturing the essence of perseverance and innovation. Charlotte listened attentively, occasionally interjecting with incisive questions that illuminated key moments in Simone's evolution as an entrepreneur. There was a genuine sense of respect in the way Charlotte nodded as Simone described the challenges she had overcome, even as the audience absorbed every word with rapt attention. Yet, as the discussion shifted towards Simone's community-focused initiative, subtle changes began to surface in Charlotte's tone. What had started as sincere compliments gradually took on a backhanded quality, with her famous tilt of the head an exaggerated gesture that had become her trademark. Charlotte leaned forward and asked, "Simone, do you really believe that programs like yours are necessary? Could it be that people aren't working hard enough on their own?" At that moment, the air in the studio grew thick with tension. A few murmurs rippled through the audience. Some clapped hesitantly, while others exchanged uneasy glances. Despite the charged atmosphere, Simone maintained her composure. She had encountered such challenges before, in boardrooms, classrooms, and even within the confines of her own community gatherings, where similar rhetoric was wielded as if it were an unassailable truth. Simone's eyes softened slightly as she responded, "Charlotte, it's not that people aren't putting in the work. The reality is that systemic barriers exist, barriers that have prevented many from ever getting the same start in life. My program is designed to break down those barriers and create clear, practical pathways for young Black women to succeed, even in the face of adversity." Her measured tone was both calm and resolute, and her words were met with polite applause from the audience. Yet Charlotte's smile only widened further, as if she had been eagerly anticipating an opportunity to escalate the debate. Little did Simone know that the interview was about to take a sharply unexpected turn. Charlotte leaned even closer, her fingers drumming on the glossy surface of the table in a manner that appeared rehearsed. "I hear you," she said, nodding in a way that felt more scripted than genuine. "But don't you think that focusing on these systemic barriers can sometimes come off as an excuse? After all, plenty of people pull themselves up by their bootstraps. Isn't that what the American dream is all about?" The question hung in the air, heavy with insinuation, as the audience murmured softly. Some clapped in agreement, while others shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Simone's gaze swept over the crowd. She noted the furrowed brows and hesitant expressions, but she remained unflustered. Drawing on her extensive experience from similar encounters in less public settings, she responded with quiet conviction. "The American dream is a beautiful idea indeed," Simone replied, her voice imbued with a calm determination. "However, the theory of the American dream fails to acknowledge that not everyone starts at the same point. Imagine, if you will, a pair of boots. Boots are wonderful, but what if those boots come without laces? Or worse, what if someone has already stolen your boots before you even get the chance to wear them? My program is not about tying shoes for people. It's about giving them their laces back, ensuring they have the basic tools they need to take that first crucial step toward independence." At this point, a wave of laughter and applause burst forth from a section of the audience, as Simone's analogy resonated deeply with those who had long felt marginalized by conventional narratives. Charlotte's eyes flickered toward the producers behind the cameras, her gaze sharp and calculating, as if silently plotting her next move. "That's a clever analogy, Simone," she said in a syrupy yet edged tone. "But some might argue that by focusing so much on race and inequality, you risk deepening divisions. Shouldn't we be emphasizing unity instead of highlighting differences?" Simone's expression remained thoughtful, her calm demeanor unwavering even as she absorbed the challenge. "Simone, unity is indeed a noble goal," she replied slowly. "But it is impossible to build a bridge without first acknowledging the river you must cross. Ignoring differences doesn't make them disappear. It only leaves people stranded on opposite shores." Her words struck a chord with the audience, eliciting another, louder wave of applause. Even Charlotte, for a brief moment, appeared taken aback. Her polished facade seemed to crack ever so slightly before she recovered her composure and pressed on. "Very well," Charlotte conceded with a slight edge. "But let's discuss specifics. Your program is targeted specifically at young Black women. Why not simply open it up to everyone? Isn't that, by definition, exclusionary?" Simone's heart skipped a beat at the familiar question, a question she had encountered countless times before. Yet she refused to let irritation show on her face. Instead, she took a measured breath and responded, "This is not about exclusion. It is about intentionality. When you know where the gaps are, you address them directly. Consider a house with a leaking roof. You wouldn't rebuild the entire house when the problem lies in one area. You start where the problem is. My program is designed to address a very specific need, and by doing so, we are in fact lifting up entire communities." The audience responded with another round of enthusiastic applause, and for a moment the energy in the room seemed to shift decidedly in Simone's favor. Yet Charlotte was not ready to relent. Leaning back in her chair and crossing her arms in a display of defensive posture, she said, "I'm merely playing devil's advocate, Simone, but some might say that programs like yours, by being so narrowly focused, promote dependency rather than self-sufficiency. How do you respond to that?" Simone's eyes narrowed ever so slightly, and a faint, knowing smile touched her lips. She recognized Charlotte's tactic, an attempt to provoke and push buttons, and she was not about to give Charlotte the satisfaction of seeing her lose her composure. "Dependency is not the issue," Simone said firmly, her voice steady yet imbued with quiet strength. "Consider this. When banks extend loans to help new businesses get off the ground, are we to say that they are promoting dependency? Or are they instead providing crucial resources that empower those businesses to grow and succeed? My program is an investment in the future of young women who, given the right tools, will not only stand on their own but will create opportunities for others. The problem is not dependency, it is a lack of opportunity." The audience erupted in applause, their cheers ringing out even as a few members of the production crew nodded in agreement behind the cameras. For a moment, Charlotte's polished facade showed further signs of strain. She adjusted her posture, crossing her legs tightly and tilting her head in a manner that was more defensive than inquisitive. "Well, Simone," Charlotte said in a tone that was now slightly clipped, "you make a compelling argument, but surely you understand why some feel that such narrowly focused programs leave others feeling excluded. We live in a time when everyone wants to feel included, don't you think?" Simone's smile softened, not out of frustration but out of a deep-seated determination. Leaning forward with her hands clasped firmly together, she answered, "Inclusion is vital, but it does not mean that we ignore the unique challenges faced by certain groups. If a child is struggling in school, do we hold back the entire class so that everyone is equal? No, we give that child extra support so that they can catch up. And in doing so, the entire class benefits." A heavy silence fell over the studio, a silence laden with the undeniable truth of Simone's words. Not willing to yield, Charlotte leaned forward once more, her eyes glinting with challenge. "Let me ask you this, Simone. Do you believe that by focusing so intently on race, your program might inadvertently perpetuate division? Would it not be better to focus solely on what unites us?" Simone's expression remained composed as she regarded Charlotte steadily. "What's truly ironic," Simone began slowly, "is that when people like me work to fix the systemic damage done by those in power, we are often accused of being divisive. Charlotte's segregation was about exclusion, denying access to opportunities. What I am doing is the exact opposite. I am opening doors that have been slammed shut for generations." She paused, allowing her words to resonate, then added, "And in fact, when we try to repair these deep-rooted problems, the real challenge is that people often twist our intentions into something they are not. They call it divisiveness, when in reality we are simply demanding fairness and accountability." At this point, the audience burst into thunderous applause, with many rising to their feet. Charlotte's expression momentarily froze, her confident veneer cracking for just an instant before she quickly regained her composure. "Well, Simone," she said, her voice strained and laced with a forced smile, "I suppose we'll have to agree to disagree on some points. I do appreciate your perspective, though." Simone acknowledged Charlotte's remark with a polite nod and continued, her tone both measured and firm. A masterclass in grace under pressure. The producers cut to commercial as the live broadcast ended, but the impact of Simone's words was already reverberating far beyond the studio. Social media lit up within minutes, with hashtags like Simone Jackson and Morning Perspective trending widely on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Clips of Simone's incisive responses spread like wildfire. A tweet proclaiming, "She said what needed to be said," racked up thousands of likes, while another clip captioned, "Putting out fires, not ignoring them," was swiftly shared by influencers, activists, and even celebrities. Backstage, in the quiet of her dressing room, Simone took a few precious moments to breathe. Her phone buzzed relentlessly with notifications, messages from friends, emails from supporters, and tags from strangers praising her eloquence and courage. As she scrolled through the incoming messages, Her heart swelled with gratitude at the outpouring of support from young women who expressed how her words had inspired them to believe in their own strength and potential. Yet even amidst the praise, Simone was aware of the detractors. Some critics accused her of being overly aggressive or divisive. However, Simone had encountered such criticism before. She knew that these voices were less about her tone or tactics, and more about others' unwillingness to confront uncomfortable truths. And she had no intention of ever apologizing for standing firmly in her truth. That evening, as Simone sat alone in her hotel room overlooking the sparkling skyline of downtown Los Angeles, she reflected on the day's events. The interview had been challenging, a true test of her resolve, but it had also served as a powerful platform to speak truth to power. She thought of the young women her initiative supported, girls who might one day watch the broadcast and see a reflection of their own strength, resilience, and unapologetic authenticity in her. A soft knock on the door interrupted her thoughts, and her assistant peeked in with a smile. "You're everywhere right now," her assistant said, holding up Simone's phone. "Tienen just picked up the story. They're calling it one of the most powerful live TV moments of the year." Simone smiled faintly and shook her head. "It's not about me," she murmured quietly. "It's about the message." Her assistant nodded in agreement, adding, "You might want to see this. Beyoncé just shared the clip." Simone laughed softly, the heaviness of the day momentarily lifting. "I guess I can't argue with Queen Bey," she replied warmly. Over the following weeks, the buzz around the interview continued to grow. News outlets dissected the moment in detail, op-ed pieces debated its broader social impact, and social media platforms became flooded with shared clips and thoughtful commentary. But for Simone, the true measure of success was not found in the headlines or viral clips. It lay in the knowledge that young women now saw that someone was fighting for them, that space was being carved out for their voices in a world that too often tried to silence them. That was the real victory. Even as Simone prepared to move forward, she recognized that the interview was merely the beginning of a larger movement. The very next morning, her phone buzzed with an unending stream of notifications, each one representing another story, another mention, another opportunity for her words to resonate even further than before. Yet Simone did not allow herself to bask in the attention. Instead, her mind raced with ideas. How to harness this newfound momentum to further propel her program, how to amplify the voices of the women she worked so tirelessly to support, and how to ensure that the ripple effects of her message would reach far beyond the television screen. By midday, Simone found herself back in her hometown, greeted by an enthusiastic group of young women from her program who had gathered at a community center. Among them was a bright-eyed 19-year-old named Aaliyah. With tears shimmering in her eyes, Aaliyah approached Simone and said softly, "Miss Simone, I watched the interview last night. I saw how you stood up for us, for all of us. And I just want to say thank you. You made me feel like I can do anything." Simone's face lit up with genuine warmth as she placed a gentle hand on Aaliyah's shoulder. "Aaliyah," she replied, "you don't need me to make you feel empowered. That power has always been inside you. I'm simply here to provide you with the tools to see that strength for yourself." Later that day, Simone addressed a small group of participants in her program. She shared the details of the interview, highlighting both the challenges and the lessons learned. "Here's the thing," she said, her voice resonating with passion. "The world isn't always going to hand you respect or fairness on a silver platter. Sometimes you have to demand it. Sometimes you have to fight for it. And when that happens, always remember, your story, your voice, and your worth are never up for debate." A thoughtful silence fell over the room, a silence filled with understanding and determination. Simone looked into the faces of those gathered and saw in them the readiness to rise up, to take on the world with courage and conviction. That moment of connection reaffirmed her belief that the work she was doing mattered deeply. As the day drew to a close and the sun began to set, Simone stepped out of the community center. The warm glow of the evening sun bathed the streets in a gentle light, and for a few moments she paused to reflect on the long and challenging journey that had brought her to this point. There had been many roadblocks, moments of doubt and challenges along the way, yet through it all, she had remained steadfast in her commitment to create change, to inspire others, and to leave the world a little better than she had found it. Simone's story in its entirety stands as a powerful reminder that standing up for what you believe in is never easy, but it is always necessary. Whether you are on a national stage or working within your local community, your voice has the power to spark meaningful change. Do not allow the fear of discomfort or criticism to silence you from speaking your truth. If Simone's journey has resonated with you, take a moment today to consider how you might make a difference in your own community, whether through mentoring someone, starting a project, or simply standing up for what is right. No matter how small your actions may seem, they have the potential to inspire others. Together, we can all be a part of creating the change we wish to see in the world. In the weeks that followed the interview, Simone's initiative gained unprecedented momentum. Every mention, every share on social media, and every piece of supportive feedback became a building block in the foundation of a new movement. Simone spent hours in meetings with community leaders, advocacy groups, and potential investors, all eager to contribute to a future where opportunities for young Black women were not only available, but actively cultivated. Each conversation, each idea shared, and each challenge met with resolve further underscored the transformative power of a community united in purpose. Simone's program quickly evolved into a comprehensive platform that provided not only mentorship and financial resources, but also educational workshops, networking events, and online support groups. The initiative became a lifeline for many young entrepreneurs who had previously felt isolated and unsupported in their endeavors. Through seminars on business fundamentals, digital marketing, and personal development, Simone ensured that her protégés were equipped with the knowledge and confidence to navigate the complex world of entrepreneurship. Testimonials poured in from young women whose lives had been changed by the program. Stories of breakthroughs, successful ventures, and newfound self-belief filled Simone's inbox every day. Simone's growing influence also caught the attention of national media. News outlets, podcasts, and influential blogs began featuring her story, framing her as not only a successful entrepreneur, but also a formidable advocate for social change. Each interview reinforced the message that true success is measured by one's ability to uplift others, and Simone's unwavering commitment to that principle resonated deeply with audiences far and wide. Her viral interview on The Morning Perspective became a symbol of empowerment, a rallying cry for those who believed in the transformative power of equity and opportunity. Yet, despite the overwhelming support, Simone remained grounded. She often returned to her roots, visiting community centers, speaking at local schools, and engaging directly with the young women whose lives she had touched. One particularly memorable visit was to a neighborhood high school where Simone led a workshop on entrepreneurship. Standing before a captivated audience of teenagers, she recounted her own humble beginnings and the obstacles she had overcome. "Your journey will not be without challenges," she told them, "but every hurdle you overcome is a step toward a brighter future. Believe in yourselves and never let anyone tell you that your dreams are out of reach." The students, inspired by her authenticity and practical advice, left the auditorium with a renewed sense of purpose. Back in the boardrooms and offices of major corporations, the ripple effects of Simone's words continued to be felt. Her interview had sparked discussions among executives and decision-makers about the importance of diversity, inclusion, and social responsibility. Many companies began to re-examine their internal policies, seeking ways to create more equitable environments for all employees. While some of these changes were slow and incremental, the conversation had been undeniably shifted by Simone's powerful message. Industry panels, corporate training sessions, and high-level strategy meetings increasingly featured discussions about the need to dismantle systemic barriers, a testament to the lasting impact of one courageous interview. Meanwhile, the dynamic between Simone and the talk show host Charlotte Whittaker continued to fuel media speculation. Charlotte, known for her polarizing interviews, was both criticized and admired for her tough questioning. In subsequent interviews, Charlotte was forced to confront the very issues she had tried to downplay during her appearance with Simone. In one follow-up segment, Charlotte acknowledged that the conversation with Simone had indeed been a turning point for her as well, sparking an internal dialogue about the responsibility of the media in addressing social inequality. Although Charlotte maintained her signature style, there was a noticeable shift in her approach, a hint that even the most combative hosts could learn and evolve. And as the months passed, Simone's initiative blossomed into a national movement. With every new success story and every young woman who found her voice through the program, the narrative of entrepreneurship and empowerment was rewritten. Simone herself became a mentor, a role model, and a symbol of resilience for an entire generation. Her story was celebrated not only for its individual triumphs, but also for its broader message, that by standing up for what is right and refusing to be silenced, one person can ignite a revolution of change. In time, Simone's impact reached beyond the world of business. Politicians, educators, and community leaders began to cite her work as an example of how grassroots initiatives could reshape societal norms. Symposiums were held to honor her contributions, and awards recognizing her efforts in social justice and entrepreneurship were bestowed upon her. Despite all the accolades and the media attention, Simone remained humble. She continued to work tirelessly, driven by a steadfast belief that her mission was far from complete. One chilly winter morning, Simone was invited to speak at a major conference on economic empowerment. As she took the stage, the audience fell silent, their eyes fixed on her with a mixture of admiration and anticipation. Simone spoke with passion about the importance of creating opportunities for those who had long been marginalized. "We must invest in our future by lifting up those who have been left behind," she declared, her voice ringing clear and true. "Our success is measured not by how high we climb, but by how many we bring with us." Her words resonated deeply with everyone in the room, sparking a standing ovation that lasted several minutes. Back at her headquarters, Simone's team worked around the clock to expand the initiative. New programs were launched, partnerships were forged, and additional funding was secured to support an ever-growing network of young entrepreneurs. The organization's reach extended to cities across the country, and the stories of transformation multiplied. Young women who once faced insurmountable challenges now celebrated their successes, opening their own businesses, gaining financial independence, and serving as mentors for others. Each success story was a testament to the power of targeted support and the undeniable strength of a united community. In the midst of all this progress, Simone never lost sight of her personal journey. She continued to draw inspiration from her roots in Birmingham, often returning to the community that had shaped her. During these visits, she made it a point to engage with local schools, community centers, and grassroots organizations. Her approach was always personal and empathetic. She listened carefully to the stories of those she met, offering guidance and encouragement with genuine warmth. "Your dreams are valid," she would say, "and every step you take brings you closer to the future you deserve." These interactions not only reinforced her commitment to her mission, but also provided her with fresh insights that helped her refine her programs and strategies. Simone's influence eventually permeated the national discourse on entrepreneurship and social equity. Major publications featured in-depth profiles of her work, and her interviews became staples in business and cultural magazines. Her message of empowerment and resilience inspired countless individuals, many of whom cited her as the catalyst for their own journeys towards success. Despite the challenges she faced, both on television and in the boardrooms of powerful institutions, Simone remained undeterred. She knew that real change required perseverance, courage, and a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths. Throughout this period, the debate between Simone and her detractors on live television continued to reverberate. Public opinion was sharply divided. Some hailed her as a visionary who was daring to challenge the status quo, while others dismissed her as divisive. Yet, for Simone, the true measure of her impact was not the controversy, but the tangible difference her work was making in the lives of young women. Every time a young entrepreneur broke through a barrier, or every time a community witnessed the transformative power of opportunity, Simone's belief in her mission was reaffirmed. As the seasons changed and the years went by, Simone's legacy began to take shape. She was invited to participate in panels at international conferences, collaborated with renowned social activists, and even advised policymakers on issues of economic empowerment and racial equity. The program that had once been a bold experiment in addressing systemic inequality had grown into a cornerstone of community development, a shining example of how targeted initiatives could change the course of history. One particularly poignant moment came during a televised awards ceremony, where Simone was honored for her contributions to social justice and entrepreneurship. Standing on stage amidst a sea of applauding dignitaries, Simone spoke about the power of perseverance and the importance of community support. "I stand here not as an individual who has conquered every challenge," she said, "but as a representative of every young woman who has ever been told that her dreams were too big. We are here because we refused to accept limitations, and because we believed in the power of our collective strength."